want me to ad-lib a intro? I can do it. I will. I promised I wouldn't do it again, actually, after I did that bonus episode. So much.
Hello and welcome to The Truth Shall Make You Fret, a podcast in which we have been reading and recapping the books by the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett for 100 episodes.
Books by the Discworld series by Terry Pratchett by 100 episodes. Yes! It's
I
our
got that.
centenary.
It's our official centenary. We've existed for 100 years, or it feels like it. Probably feels like it to the listeners too, but somehow you're all here with us still.
All right, guys.
Ridiculous people. Hi.
I'll try this casual atmosphere. I'm just going to make my candy kittens. We've done the episode for today, you see.
Yes, we are recording this immediately after recording part 2 of Amazing Morris, so we suggest listening to that first for continuity purposes.
I think this was the better way around to do it because I do feel more chilled after an episode.
Also, that meant I would have had a full drink before we started recording Amazing Morris, and we know our rules.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly a party-themed episode either, was it?
I've got a glass of champagne. Let's talk about death. Actually, that's how most of my parties go. Yeah. I don't throw a lot of parties.
Well, as previously ascertained, I'm immortal, so we don't need to talk about it. What are we going to talk about instead, Joanna?
We have got some lovely listener questions that we are going to answer.
For our 100th episode, I'm going to keep saying that.
Yes, 100. We did 100 proper episodes of the podcast outside of all the bonus. This isn't the 100th episode. Part 2 of Amazing Morris was the 100th episode. This is the celebrating. This is the 100th birthday party.
It's one of the appendices.
This is a 100th appendice. We'll have to do a separate special bonus for our 100th bonus episode.
And it wouldn't be a landmark episode without fucking around with suffixes.
Apologies, listeners. I know we talked about doing a live stream for this, but life got in the way.
November was a month, and no.
We're doing this instead, where we're under a lot less pressure, and Francine can edit out me being a complete twat. She won't, but she could. It's nice to have
depends what kind of mood I'm in tomorrow, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's all right. Before we started recording, we've already discussed my nipples. Anyway.
You do it to yourself, dude. Right.
Oh no, we're keeping that in. Spoilers, it's not the last time nipples will be mentioned in this episode. So, getting right on.
That's half my answers. So first we have...
Steve on Patreon asks, if you were told you were being shipped off to the Discworld tomorrow, for a year, let's say, you're not being irrevocably wrenched from your loved ones, but you could choose your destination, where would you go and what would you do for a living? Okay.
I'll go first on this one, then we'll switch going first, shall we?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I would say it's got to be Ankh-Morpork because it's got to be Ankh-Morpork. Where else am I going to meet all of my favourites? And you can day trip out to the Ram Tops and freak out the witches from there. And I guess I'd try and get a job at a newspaper because it does seem to be a job that women are allowed to do in Ankh-Morpork, obviously. Yeah. And it's reasonably safe and I'm already half qualified. But that is a very boring answer. I realise that. So I've got a backup, which is I want to be a soundscaper for an Uberwaldian aristocratic family.
Perfect. I love that.
How about you?
I also went with 2 answers. I think I've mentioned on the podcast before that the most likely answer is, if I ended up on the Discworld, that I would also be an Ankh-Morpork, and as I'm already quite a talented dressmaker, I'd probably end up working for the Guild of Seamstresses. Because of my dressmaking skills. Yep. However, I'd like an alternative, and as I'm only there for a year, I quite like the idea of setting up doing a little writing retreat, setting up a little cottage somewhere in Lanka, and letting the landscape and surrounding nonsense inspire me.
Get people like Lady Sybil and her friends in, kind of thing.
Yeah, like I'd hold retreats for other people and see if the Lady Sybil and the Emmas want to swing by.
Yeah, lovely. All right, that's a very quiet, chilled out thing to do on Discworld.
Well, if I'm there for a year, I might as well make a nice holiday out of it rather than working.
I'm not sure we ever decided, by the way, is it on Discworld or in Discworld if we're saying like this? Because this is a thing when you're talking about living on or in an island. So you're not from Jersey, and I can never remember which way around it was because I haven't lived there for so long. But I'm pretty sure it's if you say I live on Jersey, then you're not a native. I lived in Jersey.
I feel like it's on Discworld, but in Ankh-Morpork.
Okay,
or in Lanka.
Yeah, so it's just so easy to see you being put atop the Discworld, isn't it? Because it's flat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. On Discworld in Lanka. Okay.
Or like we'd say on Earth in London.
Yeah, that's true. Also. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But we wouldn't say on England.
No.
unless we're having a really weird day. Next question. Sorry, me.
Duck. Oh, do you want me to read them as well? I will. That's a good idea. We'll alternate because then you'll be answering. Sorry. Yes. Next question. Duck on Patreon. Question for the 100th. I'm interested in the hot topic of, is pizza a sandwich?
So the short answer, no, but a calzone is. / also a pasty. The longer answer is just that I fucking love this kind of nonsense. It's the same as the fried chicken sandwich versus burger debate that tore apart food Reddit for a few days.
Yeah.
It's just such
grilled cheese versus melt.
Grilled cheese versus melt. Is a hot dog a sandwich? It's such a low stakes thing to really care about. And I don't have a strong opinion one way or the other.
But could a slice of pizza become a sandwich if you roll up the slice of pizza and eat it in a cylindrical fashion?
Well, what you do is you take 2 slices of pizza and you put one on top of the other, so the fillings are in the middle, and then it's the sandwich.
I see.
Yeah, if you roll it up, it's a burrito.
Is it?
Everything rolled is a burrito or a spring roll.
All right, got it. Okay.
But a burrito is technically a subset of sandwich, so technically, none of this is anything.
No, of course it isn't. No. Well, I'm glad you had an answer because my answer was what? No.
Look, I just wanted to get calzones in there in honor of Ben Wyatt. A hero to us all.
Forever in our hearts.
Yeah.
I still don't. I'm sorry, but I'm very much on everyone else's side in that bit. What's the point of a calzone? No. It just makes the topping inedible for longer.
If you think of it as a pasty, then...
But it's not like a pasty, is it? Because you don't want a cold calzone. The point of a pasty being like that is so you can have it in your lunchbox.
Oh, yeah, good point. You're right, no. I love Ben Wyatt. Calzones are pointless.
Yeah.
I'd
still very happily eat one, but they are pointless.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's melted cheese happening.
Yeah,
melted cheese and some kind of bread product. I'm not going to argue with it, but I probably won't attend the local calzone zone.
Because Jack's out tonight. I think what I'm going to do is melt some cheese on top of some tortilla chips and dip those in salsa for a real gourmet experience.
I support it.
Good.
I mean, get some of those really cheap, shitty pickled jalapeno. Oh no, you're not really a spice person, are you?
No, but I could add pickles.
Yeah, stick pickles on them. I most things can be improved by sticking a pickle on it, and that's something I've learned from the witches. We have a second question from Doug that's not about food.
Oh, fine.
Guys, okay. You know better than to ask us about food. Come on. But salt, fat, acid, heat is a thing. Like, have something acidic with you. Anyway, if you could make a streaming limited series based on The Last Hero, what would be the themes and who would be your dream cast?
Okay, so I'm shit at fan casting, so I just went with themes. And other than the obvious ones that we've talked about before, and you can talk about better than me. I thought just the way that society treat the elderly as if they have little to offer now that they've reached a certain age, when we should in fact be quite impressed, I would say, more impressed than we are, and not in that, oh, look at the old person way, isn't that cute, in a tell me things way.
Yeah. That's better than mine. My theme was loincloths.
Oh, right. Okay. So I thought you were going to say like heroism, narrative arcs. No.
Look, if you want to hear my intellectual thoughts on The Last Hero, we did like 3 hours of podcasting on it. For this, I'm sticking with loincloths. Now I've only got to shoehorn a helicopter into the episode.
Okay.
Speaking of, I'm going to cast a helicopter. No.
No.
We're using them for filming? No, I'll get a better shoehorn in.
So who's Cohan going to be?
Well, okay, so we have kind of bitched a little bit on the podcast before about how much we don't love fan casting, but that's largely to do with like online spaces hugely being taken up with it, and it is always the same answer. It's always Miriam Margolyes as Nanny Og, which like I get, Miriam Margolyes would be a great Nanny Og, but I don't need to see like 800 people say it.
Yeah, and it's always one sets off an avalanche. It's like, keep it to a thread. Do you not know how forums work? Nobody does anymore.
No one does. These people clearly didn't grow up in bad forums in the 90s, and it shows.
They did. That's the thing. The worst offenders are definitely Gen X, and I know they know how to use forums. They built all the good ones.
I feel like there's a weird gap where like you were slightly too old to be really on forums when they were happening, and that makes you like the perfect Facebook demographic.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, older Gen X, maybe. Yeah,
the older Gen X, almost boomer, but not quite. Like boomer rising.
Yeah.
Anyway,
having said all that about respecting the elderly, I'm now immediately slagging off their internet skills. Sorry.
Yeah,
not
no,
the
that's fine.
elderly Gen X, but you know what I mean, older people.
Sorry, any Gen X listeners, we do
You
not
should have
think of
heard
you
me
as
last
elderly.
night when some people I was with were like, "Oh, do we have cash?" Just, but no, I don't have cash. I see we were going to be like PayPal. What?
I still go to a pub that only takes cash. It briefly took card for a bit, but the card machine broke and they've not bothered to fix it.
I don't think it broke by accident. I think
No.
either the barman or something eldritch broke it.
I have now got a deal because I completely forget they take cash there. They're literally the only place I ever use cash. So I now have a deal of if I go in, I start a tab and then go to a cash point.
Yep.
Because it's cold outside. There's no kind of atmosphere. But sorry, so I'm going to break my rule on not fan casting things, but I'm going to cheat for Cohen because David Bradley already played him in Colour and Magic, and that was perfect. I wouldn't change that.
Okay, yep.
I'm not sure either of them are technically old enough, but I think they would be great, either Gillian Anderson or Olivia Colman as Vina the Ravenhaired.
Okay.
Because I think they've got that. I've recently watched The Crown and seen the two playing off each other, but I think either of them could play that kind of mix of matronly and could fuck you up with a sword.
I think Olivia Colman would be, if I'm picking between those, yeah.
Yeah. Gillian Anderson is more I want to see Gillian Anderson wearing.
Sure.
Vina the Ravenhaired wears, to be honest.
Sure.
I'm a simple creature.
For the minstrel, another series of sex education, I think. Sorry, Karen.
Yes, there is, but I think it's going to be the last one because Ncuti Gatwa's going to be the Doctor.
Yeah,
which I'm so excited about.
Yeah, that would.
I haven't talked about Doctor Who on the podcast a lot recently, but
no,
I'm there, guys.
That's because I stopped watching it. I'm useless as a sounding board now.
Well, also, I think we're all going to kind of forget Jodie Whittaker's seasons a little bit. That's unfair. That's not a whole.
Okay, no, do you know what? No, yeah, this isn't a podcast for Doctor Who today.
No, but maybe another time. For the minstrel, because he's got priors, he's done it pretty well already, and he's not so famous that you'd necessarily pick him out of a crowd immediately. He's not too handsome, but he could play handsome. We're going with Joey Beatty, who plays Jaskier in the Witcher series. He is the toss a coin to your Witcher guy.
Beatty, you say?
Yeah, Joey Beatty, Batey. Are you Googling now?
Yeah, I've never watched The Witcher.
I apologise to all the listeners who now have toss a coin
that.
to your Witcher stuck in your head, but we've seen him play a minstrel well. I think he can do it again.
Okay, yep, good.
I only cast a couple of people. For the Dean, this just occurred to me because I had this actor on the brain because I weirdly ended up hanging out with his daughter last weekend. Rupert Vansittart, who that was total name dropping. He was the boar buying whiskey at the bar in Four Weddings of a Funeral. He was Jon Royce in Game of Thrones. He was one of the Slitheen in Christopher Eccleston era Doctor Who.
Character actor.
Very good, very funny British character actor, and it only occurred to me today when I was thinking about this question, but he would be so perfect as the Dean, and now I really want to see it. Like in anything, in any Discworld adaptation ever.
If we're doing like dream casting, we can have dead people as well, right?
Yeah.
So, oh shit, I've forgotten his name now. Sorry, very disrespectful of me immediately. Oh, yeah, that's right. Paul Ritter, I would like as one of the Horde. I don't know which.
Paul Ritter,
the dad in Friday Night Dinner.
Oh yeah.
Other things. Again.
Oh, he would have been a great
quite old enough.
Horde
Didn't
member.
get quite old enough, very unfortunately.
No, but he would have been a great Horde
very
member.
Sad about that, but yes, him. And I would like Bill Bailey as one of the henchmen of the evil.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the great thing about the Horde is you can basically look at any brilliant older actor. So you could throw an Ian McKellen in there, and then you've got a kind of piss take of his Gandalf. I was thinking that,
but how you need them to be a bit rough and ready. And Christopher Lee and Ian McKellen to me are just too dignified.
I think you could rough Ian McKellen up. I don't think you could rough Christopher Lee up.
I don't think I could rough either of them up. They look very tough.
I definitely could not have taken Christopher Lee in a fight.
Yeah, no.
No. But I mean, appearance-wise.
He might be the Grim Reaper now.
Yeah, no, I think he took over. But I mean, appearance-wise, maybe not Christopher Lee. Oh, Christopher Lee would make a good evil Harry Dredd.
That's true. You'd need to change the character a little bit so that the comedy is in the fact he's so dignified, but at the same time laughable. Yeah.
But that's fine. I think you can tweak a character to suit an actor in something like this. But you could throw Patrick Stewart in there.
You're just picking people with too much dignity for me.
No, see, that's the joy of it though, is seeing them play undignified.
Yes, all right. Okay, fine. But he's Truckle the uncivil.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I want to see Patrick
I'm going all the way
Stewart.
with that.
I want Patrick Stewart to be uncivil. Anyway,
Right.
sorry.
I think we did better than expected there.
Oh no, I had one more, and it's
sorry.
a wildcard one. That also I think only works if you've watched House of the Dragon. But having seen that, I think Paddy Considine could actually do a really good Leonard of Quirm.
Okay.
I think he could, having seen him play King Viserys, I think he could do a kind of, like, just looks wise, no, but I think he could do the kind of wild-eyed wonder that the character needs.
Okay. Yeah. No.
Obviously, you know.
Well, looks wise, I don't have an image of him in my head apart from maybe Einstein. So stick a wig on him and I'll believe whatever.
Yeah, that was how
As long
they
as he's got the
got him
face,
working in
facial
House of the Dragon.
expressions. Yeah.
They basically just stuck a wig on him and whatever, it worked. Next question.
Hot Fuzz.
Yes, he is. He's in lots of stuff. He's famous.
Okay. Not to me.
Anyway.
Jim Broadbent.
Jim Broadbent
Somewhere.
would be great.
Sorry.
You could throw him in.
Closing IMDb.
Oh, Robbie Coltrane. I know he's passed away now as well, but he would have been great somewhere in there. Okay, cool. Sorry, next question, Francine.
Next question, Joanna. This is from Ben from Pratchett, who is our
sibling podcast. Our Australian counterpart.
Our XXXX.
Yeah, our 4X counterparts.
Yes, our 4X counterpart. Thank you. I was about to say counterweight continent. That's not right. Right. Yes. Ben says, I'd like to know how you think of Pratchett differently now compared to when you started. And I would like to say, actually, before I forget, Ben and Liz also had a very good landmark episode recently. An anniversary one, wasn't it? Was it?
Yeah, I think so.
Was it a number one?
I think it was their 60th.
Yeah. And we asked them questions and lots of other people asked them questions. It's very good. Go listen to that. But
yeah, we'll link in the show notes.
How do you think of Pratchett differently now compared to when you started?
There's two different answers. As a person, a lot more intimidating than I think I pictured this, but a lot of that is to do with Robsburg. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean, like, I think he might have thought I was an idiot. And I don't really mind. Yeah.
I think he thought almost everyone was, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, no.
It's hard to say.
But thinking of him as a writer, I have a huge newfound respect for him as a craftsman. Like, I've always loved these books. Obviously, that's why we started doing a podcast about them. That was the thing, you know. These books we love.
Weird otherwise,
yeah. Let's do a podcast about books we fucking hate.
Yeah, or just
or not do a podcast. No, we talked about books we loved. We still talk about books we love. But yeah, I don't think I ever appreciated the eye for detail, the ability to construct a joke, because I didn't always used to think about that stuff, and this podcast has forced me to. And yeah, it's given me an incredible newfound respect for him. Like, no one could craft a narrative, could craft a single joke, could sprinkle sherbet lemons without it being heavy-handed. What about you?
I have more appreciation for, it's kind of two things, but the scope of his knowledge that he must have had in the first place to know which rabbit holes to go down. Yeah. And how much research he must have put into so many seemingly throwaway jokes and lines that just a really niche audience would have appreciated some of them. Lots of people would have appreciated other things, but like maybe wouldn't just see how much fact checking it took. Like, I don't think he liked to give too much of a peek behind that curtain, even though he referenced it a few times. Like, he talked about blind research once or twice. And like in the first essay in A Slip of the Keyboard, he mentions like, must go upstairs and research tortoises and philosophers. But yeah, I think he gives this impression of being almost omniscient.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just doing this process has just given me, and Neil Gaiman at the same time almost, but in a very different way, but just how much thought they put into fucking everything, and how much fun it must have been researching some of it, and how much discipline it must have taken not to just fall down that rabbit hole and instead to find the information you need, maybe a little bit extra for a treat, and put it in the book. And and similarly, as a person, I didn't know a lot about him outside of what I'd seen in the documentaries, which would, reasonably revealing, but not
like a deep and intense, this is exactly who this man is.
Yeah.
And
but
also
yeah,
it was all the documentaries were a very specific era of his life, and
I think
he'd had
that's
a
it. Yeah, and I
very
never
rich
watched
and
them
full
in quick
life before that.
succession. Yeah. But yeah, and it's not just like the books we've read about him, but the interviews I've watched with him, the fact that I've reread Slip of the Keyboard so many times while we've been doing this.
The comments
I
on
just feel like I've got a more
Pratchett,
rounded idea of what he was.
yeah, absolutely.
What he was, who he was, all of that, while at the same time, honestly, having more admiration for him than I did. And we talked about that a very long time ago, how the more we learn about him, the more we admire him, and that's not stopped.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
It's not just an admiration for who he was, but just that excited willingness to learn, I think, is such a cool thing about him.
The curiosity, just
and
then what? But why? But what if we did this?
These books are like an exercise in that curiosity. It's
I think he spoke from experience when he talked a few times about like ideas sleeting through the universe and hitting you in the head and distracting you.
He was a good man for inspiration particles, wasn't he?
Yeah.
We got a second question from Ben, which is, what's your favorite weird thing you've learned for the podcast?
That was my I wrote down my first thoughts as well as my actual answers, which is why the what no with the pizza. But so I've gone, oh Jesus, I don't know, but because it could genuinely change week to week. So right now, I'm really excited about the Pied Piper of Hamelin, which I won't spoil it in case listeners are listening to this one before the main episode. But what? But then it might be nuclear semiotics. It might be the old belief that oxen carcasses spontaneously generated bees. It might be like I'd have to go back and listen through every episode and like rank them in a spread. No, I don't have time for that. So I'm gonna say nuclear semiotics just because I had so much fun with that. But it's become a bit of a meme since then, and I don't want to be the kind of person that says I fell down that obscure rabbit hole before it was cool, but I did.
I now really want to do like a bracket of weird shit we've learned for the podcast where listeners have to vote for what's eventually like the one true fact.
All right, well, we might do that. Yeah. Okay.
Like maybe just an obscure reference finial bracket.
Yeah, we still haven't done the nerd chart.
Oh yeah,
onto that too. Yeah,
that's on the list.
So how about you?
Eyeball nipples.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, no, okay, no. I was doing a similar thing to you.
You weren't even lying about the nipples.
Foreshadowing, lads. No, I had a similar thing to you where my brain went, oh, what? It's the thing we talked about where like someone asks you your favorite song and you've never heard music before in your life. But there's so many of them. Like you, it's the recency bias that I'm so excited to learn more about the Pied Piper history. Yeah. But also the podcast has given me the excuse to do all the weird deep diving with the rabbit holes and things. Yeah, so like genuinely the episode I did
weird books.
So many fucking weird books. The most recent one being the Brewers, Rogues, Villains and Eccentrics, which just listeners get it.
Yeah, no, Joanna showed me it, and I immediately ordered myself a copy, which doesn't usually happen that quickly.
Which is really annoying. I shouldn't have told you it existed because then I could have got it for you for Christmas.
Oh, never mind.
I had to find a different weird vintage book for you for Christmas.
Oh, I like how we do the same thing.
But just all sorts of nonsense, going down the fairy tale rabbit hole and learning about the ATU index for the first time. And also I kind of share with you the deep and abiding love of nuclear semiotics because just it's really cool.
Yeah.
Because
I
otherwise
think my favorite thing I've learned from you actually was the fairy tale stuff.
Yeah. And I think my favorite thing I've learned from you was the nuclear semiotics.
Yeah. Rabbit holes.
So well, good. Not just like rabbit holes in the Patreon thing, but how the podcast is like a push towards learning new stuff because we're trying to find all the references Pratchett made and go down the rabbit holes he might have gone down.
I do worry sometimes that I go away from the spirit of, not the spirit of the podcast, because we always knew this was going to happen, when I just go off on one about whatever I've learned. It hasn't really got a lot to do with what we're talking about. But
yeah, but that's where I'm here to shoehorn in a fucking dreadful segue.
Yes, I think we are quite, I was about to say we're quite well balanced. That's not true at all. We balance each other out in that way.
It's 6 o'clock on a Saturday evening and I'm wearing 2 tiaras and a feather boa while podcasting. Yeah, I'm balanced.
Yeah, I'm going to put definitely a video clip in the show notes, the short one, because it's very important that everybody sees Joanna's outfit today.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Mine, which is
do
very
it.
normal. Did you see I'm wearing the jumper you got me, by the way?
Yes, I did notice.
Oh.
I think it's your turn.
So Charlie on Twitter asks, what is something about this process that has surprised you? Something that is not at all how you expected it would be?
This is a weird one. I mean,
God,
lots.
Charlie.
Yeah, no, no, not a weird one, as in it was
Mm.
tough to think about, because this has genuinely changed me a little bit as a person in a good way and not in like a deep emotional way. But like, I'm a better writer now, a better speaker. I think I'm funnier. Like the challenge of just, can I say something that will make Francine snort her coffee every week is always a
So
fun
far,
one.
yes.
And stuff like I would not be doing the book I'm doing if it wasn't for the podcast, because literally the podcast is the reason the proposal got in front of a publisher.
Oh, yeah.
But I would never thought I was capable of writing facts and expressing myself in that many words if it wasn't for having the podcast to teach me how to do that. I thought about it when we started as like, oh, podcasting would be easy. I listen to loads of podcasts. That sounds like a thing I can just do. And no, turns out not. I had to learn and grow a lot.
It was all your idea.
I also genuinely thought like this would be a fun side thing and I wouldn't care so much about it, but I really do. How about you?
It takes up a lot more time than I thought it would.
Yeah, sorry.
No. That's due to how we've decided to do it. It wouldn't need to, perhaps, if we'd just decided to go straight discussion, whatever.
Yeah.
But both of us have decided to add more and more time to the research. And that means sometimes we're running a bit late and get a bit stressed, whatever, but also means the whole thing's just a lot more fun and I think more enjoyable for other people as well. I truly didn't ever expect we'd have enough of an audience to launch a Patreon. I think I said that to you right at the start. I said, like, keep your expectations low, Joe, because like there's a lot of podcasts, there's a lot of media podcasts, there's already a few Pratchett podcasts. I didn't see us ever really breaking a couple hundred listeners per week, but
something else that surprised me actually, and it probably shouldn't have done, but how nice the other Pratchett podcasts have been, like how supportive. It's not competitive, it's a really lovely supportive group.
Yeah, there's no rivalry, luckily, because it turns out people who like Pratchett are willing to just listen to infinite amounts of nonsense about it. So,
and we appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
We do. I didn't know, despite some previous experience, that there were quite so many things that could go wrong with audio, but
yep,
as evidenced earlier today when mine broke again. And finally, neither of us expected it to be remote.
No.
We thought we'd be sitting in the same room. I think it's been a bit of a challenge to learn how to. So you were saying about like becoming funnier. It's been harder to do that on a webcam. I think we still do crosstalk more than we would have done. It's it's a very different. It's a different vibe. It's maybe not a very different vibe anymore because we're so used to it now, but.
Yeah, well, our whole context for doing this before we started, you know, obviously we've been friends for like, God, over a decade.
Oh, yeah.
Which is scary. But our whole context for our friendship was having conversations in a room together, sitting down and having coffee. Kind of part of the reason we thought we could do the podcast is we sit down, have coffee and talk about Pratchett for hours anyway. Why not record it? And yeah, the difference in doing it remotely and like setting a new context for how we have conversations with each other has been a big thing.
Yeah. And now because we're videoing it as well for like the Patreon feed, I think that's added another layer of, I don't know, I think we're more casual with it now perhaps, but I think certainly the first few times we were perhaps a little bit more aware of how we were holding ourselves and like.
Oh yeah, like at one point I had good posture and tried to not let you see all the chins. Now they're just flapping in glorious abandon.
I put on makeup when I remember.
I do put on makeup for every episode, but that's just because I don't like go places every week now, so it's just a nice excuse to do like a full face once a week.
Yes, and I'm always impressed.
Sidebar, you can't really tell today because it doesn't show up well on Zoom, but that new eyeshadow palette I got that a friend gave me is the one I've used today.
Oh, lovely,
so
very good, very nice.
There's a lot of glitter. You can't tell, but there's a lot of glitter.
I see. Send me a selfie afterwards.
Sorry, next question from Charlie. Have you changed your minds about any books, plots, or characters after rereading in depth for the podcast?
Yeah, I would say that doing the moving pictures one. I think I talked about this at the end of it, but it changed my mind on the whole topic almost. So I'm not very interested in movies as a whole, or wasn't. Still not one of my best topics, but more so. And I think, as I think I also said before, it was kind of having your enthusiasm on the topic as I was learning about it, as we were reading it, which helped me appreciate kind of the Hollywood magic a bit more.
Yeah.
And also not just those episodes, but the episodes leading up to it, where you explained to me like various cinema techniques and like told me how you saw it in a more visual way. And it was interesting. And as I said before, like I'd always had like an inkling that I liked special effects and things like that or whatever, and it all just tied in together. And yeah, moving pictures, probably still not one of my favorites, but I like it a lot more than I did.
Oh, that's cool.
I'm glad.
I think Rincewind's a really obvious one. Like I was always a bit meh on the Rincewind books for a start, and I think I said like right back in Colour of Magic, like go on, convince me. Why do I like Rincewind? But I love them now, and part of it again is your enthusiasm for the character has made me feel a lot more fondly for him and for the books he's in.
We do tend to double down as well if we think there's like
oh yeah, absolutely.
We think there's a chance the other might disagree. So now I'm perhaps more of a Rincewind stan than I was at the start.
Yeah, like he's now a hill you will die on. Other things like just thinking about Nanny-Ogg's role in the Witches trio a lot more. That definitely came out through the podcast. I did not have some overarching theory about Nanny as the one true powerful witch before this. And that was very much became a hill I would die on. And Small Gods is the other one.
Oh.
Yeah, I was never a big fan of Small Gods beforehand. I think because I never really tried to dive into what the book was doing. I was very much looking at it as a surface story, and so I was kind of met on it because it's like it's one that lifts out of the Discworld canon.
Yeah,
like it's fun to have the context for the Omnians, but also they're a parody of like Jehovah's Witnesses, so you don't really need the context of Small Gods.
Yeah.
But talking about it with you, and A, I know you really love the book, and B, like proper diving into everything it's doing, that made me deep. And I think the episodes on Small Gods are still some of the best we've ever done.
Yeah, it's good.
And nothing will ever make me like cry laugh quite as much as you on your sofa with your arms flailing, shouting, "Wake up, Geeple!"
If I have time, I might try and edit some flashbacks into this. But
do like some little harp noises.
Look, there are like 8 PowerPoint presentations that didn't make it into these episodes.
Mate, you are so lucky I didn't have an extra day off this week. Otherwise, you would have got a PowerPoint presentation on Vorbis. That would have happened. I thought about it. I decided I did not have time. But
please look out for a fuller expanded thesis on the character of Vorbis eventually coming up on
bonus
our blog.
Content.
Bonus content, inane ranting, but with paragraphs.
Might even have like a separate feed of me with the complete mad conspiracy face on.
Excellent. And we'll do some corkboards and
see? The
eagle
is the god, but also Vorbis. It's right there in the beginning. Open your eyes, sheeple. Goat people.
People. It doesn't work.
Geeple. Open your eyes, Geeple.
Cameleeple. All right, well, we've officially descended into madness.
Yeah, okay, I'll tell you what, one, I've got a second answer, which is I didn't realize, I didn't see kind of the repeated but improved themes and character tropes and things that Pratchett did. So I think you've pointed out a lot of those to me, where he's doing this story again, but better, or he's doing this character again, but different. And because he had all of these books to play with, and when he liked an idea, he just kept doing it until he perfected it. And it never seemed samey because I wasn't looking for it.
Like I've done Discworld rereads before this podcast where I've reread all of the books in order, but I don't think I'd ever noticed like, oh, this book is kind of that book again. This book is kind of that book again before then. And that's like the benefit of doing this kind of weirdly close reading of it all, where you're looking for things to call back to, especially.
Definitely. I'm just going to wait a minute now. Oh. Joanna, what are you cooking for Christmas?
So Christmas is a weird one this year because I'm don't have some of the people I normally would. I worked out actually that the last few years of Christmases have all been like first without or last with Christmases, which was all a bit weird. But I'm still cooking. I've got less people than usual, and I'm going to cook the same amount of food because I am a sick person that cannot be stopped.
Mhm.
So there'll be a slow roasted leg of mutton with a red wine sauce and some dauphinoise potatoes and some kind of delicious vegetables that I haven't ordered yet. Probably sprouts and pancetta because I am a traditionalist at heart on that one very specific thing. I will make some lovely nibbles. There'll be the puff pastry pinwheels that my mum used to make for every event, and now I make for every event.
They're very good. I've eaten them many times.
Yeah. There'll be some Parmesan shortbread because they go really nicely with champagne, and I like having a nibble that goes very nicely with champagne.
Do you have a recipe for those? I need to bring something to a work potluck.
Yes, and you can make them vegetarian really easily.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you can just use the vegetarian hard cheese rather than proper Parmesan. You can't make them vegan very easily because they do need a fuck ton of butter.
Yeah, no, that's... I don't think we've got any vegans at work, it's fine.
I won't post that as an official Patreon recipe because I stole it from Nigella.
Okay.
I've tweaked it, but it's still close enough to hers. I wouldn't post it as my own.
Okay.
What else am I cooking? Oh, I'm gonna do a Black Forest Yule log this year.
Oh, okay.
I did a Black Forest cake for Christmas a few years ago, and it was very impressive. But I like the idea of doing a Yule log because it's a lot easier to fix it if it starts looking really waff. Like you just shove more ganache on it.
Yeah.
So it'll be a kind of lots of layers of chocolate covered in ganache, so it looks like a tree, and then I'll do some little piped trees. The problem is that now if I think Black Forest, I think Grey Dwarfs. And someone else who plays Valheim with me will be at the thing, so I might see if I can figure out a way to do like a Grey Dwarf eye decoration.
Very nerdy. Love it. Yes.
As a dumb little in-joke, but I also really want to make some honeycomb. I haven't made any for ages, so I'm kind of figuring out how I can throw honeycomb into that.
Put it on top, who cares?
I'm thinking I'm going to make some honeycomb, blitz it, and then put it through the whipped cream. And I think that's going to be really good. I will share
and
pictures.
That goes into a forest theme, if you ask me. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it goes into a Valheim theme. I didn't plan on a Valheim theme dessert,
yeah, but
I feel like
honey
it's
and berries. Basically, you're making a cake a bear would enjoy.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure if bears can eat chocolate.
A cartoon bear.
Yeah. Smarter than the average.
Of course.
We have a question prepared for each other. Francine, do you want to go first?
No. Because you answered it.
Oh, did I?
When you were talking about like the difference in your writing and reading and things, and so I'm trying to think of a way to slightly tweak it.
Oh, okay. Should I ask you mine?
Yeah, I'll ask, and then I'll see if I can play off of that. The other.
Okay, so we are at Amazing Morris at the moment. With everything we've done, is there one book where you'd really just love to go back and talk about that book again? Either because you've noticed new things, or because you just really want to keep talking about it, or because you've changed your mind since we've talked about it.
Good question. Let me think. I can't remember any of the books we've done now, obviously. Let me just quickly look at a Discworld publishing order list. Always have one on hand. For when at the start of every book we go, which number is this again? I would like to revisit Hogfather, maybe. I know that's a year ago, and it's possibly just because I'm feeling festive, but I think a lot of the Christmas, even though we did a rabbit hole afterwards, a lot of the like Christmas and Yuletide and New Year lore with a roar. I'm not sure we had time to do justice because the book was so good on its own.
Yeah,
so a lot of the surrounding nonsense, a lot of the blind research and the just mythology and all of the good stuff I'd like to revisit, and maybe in a more like creative-y way. I don't know, but yeah, that one. How about you?
I would really love to go back and talk about Guards again, but like with the full context of we can do spoilers now and where we've got to in the Watch arc. I'd love to revisit the early Watch books and talk about them with everything we know about like where the fifth elephant ends up and if that changes how we feel about it.
Well, as we reach the ends of arcs, there's no reason we can't do little bonus addenda. Yeah. But then you have to give away that's the end of an arc, don't you?
Yeah, we've tried not to do that. I feel like
we'll think about that another day.
Listeners, be prepared for some bonus addenda next year.
One day. Yeah. Okay, now I've thought of one. do you think, like, realistically, because I know we're kind of planning on doing this, we can do a live episode, like, on stage and shit?
I genuinely, so Craig actually mentioned that in an email he sent us, though.
This is almost like an admin question, to be honest.
I genuinely think we could. I know I'm a lot more confident doing live stuff than you. But I also, and I don't mean this in a dickish way, like, we've had episodes where I'm in a shit mood and you've carried me through it, and we've had episodes where, like, you've had shit concentration and I've carried you through it.
You've got to push me through it, yeah.
Sometimes
Chivvied each other along.
Yeah, so I think if one of us is more confident live than the other, then that's fine, because we know we can carry each other through an episode. And I genuinely think it would be...
I'm good at prepping for these kind of live things, because I've done a lot of panels and that.
Exactly.
I just always get very scared.
I know, I mean, don't get me wrong, I get horrible stage fright and would be super nervous, but I think if there's an audience that I would be super comfortable doing a live episode in front of, it's the audience we've got for the podcast.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's
like,
true.
As a thing I could do that I think would be good and fun, I think absolutely. Whether we could figure out all of the admin around it, getting a venue, handling the costs, figuring out how to record it, and then getting people to come and see it, because obviously we have got a lot of really lovely listeners, but they are scattered around and we'd have to find somewhere they could all gather.
They are. The Spotify rap thing was cool, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you tweeted any screenshots of that?
No, I didn't. Sorry, because I was busy tweeting about our last episode.
That's
but...
it. Yeah. I'll pick out a few, because I think but like you've got share story bits, so I'll pick out a few and we'll have a look at those, because it's cool. Like, Norway's in our top 5 countries.
Wow.
People listening on Spotify. Obviously, there are lots of people who listen on other platforms, but that's cool. I wonder if Apple has something similar for podcasters.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. But hi, Norway, if you're listening.
Hi, Norway.
Hi, all of
sorry,
Norway.
we don't talk about Norway enough.
Yeah, let's talk about Norway.
Germany's on there as well. We talk about Germany quite a lot.
We do. I don't want to try and learn any Norwegian, because I've seen the language written down and I'm not sure I can do it.
Yeah,
it's challenging.
A lot of the Nordic and Scandinavian languages are difficult. But I struggled with Swedish, even a few words. Although still delighted that slutspurt is the word for sale.
Oh, that
and you will see that all over shop windows. Yes, the word that is.
You'll see slutspurts all over their shop windows.
I have another one. Sorry.
Oh yeah.
I'm thinking of questions now as we go along. Have you, do you think, drastically or otherwise changed your idea of what you want the podcast to be since we started? Like, the kind of what you want it to offer, our USP.
I always wanted it to be a fun conversation around Terry Pratchett. Like, I always wanted to talk about them with you, and I hoped we'd get something of an audience. But again, on the expectations, neither have expected to get the audience that we've had. So it's changed a bit about what I want it to be, because now I know it means something to people. So I want to I care a lot more about it being good than I think I did at the beginning.
I'm still not used to getting nice letters.
Yeah, no, like
I know a lot of podcasters who have like big audiences. Now it's still, small in the grand scheme of things, large for a hobby podcast, a large small one, but but they've said they like, it's not that it means less, but it has less effect each time. But I think at the size we are, it's still, sometimes get emotional.
I've said it before, but we have genuinely had emails that have made me cry, at least, and I don't cry easily.
And if there's any we've had and haven't replied to, it's not because we haven't read and appreciated them. It's because we've read them, gone, oh my god, okay, I'll reply to that later when I'm feeling more stable, and then didn't, because we're who we are.
No, we are very much those people. And also, it's just really hard. Like, I don't know how to thank someone for saying something that nice sometimes, because it feels very trite to be like, people have said quite meaningful things to us, and I don't know how to say thanks for liking us that much without also saying but I don't deserve it. Honestly, I'm horrible. Here's an 8-page list of reasons I'm a dickhead.
Which you've got better at, actually. That's one way you've developed through the podcast, is you apologize far less. In the early episodes, it's lots of me telling you off for saying sorry all the time.
I still apologize a lot, but that is the Catholic guilt. You can't entirely beat it out of me.
And you say it kind of sarcastically now, so that's fine.
I think I'm aware of it enough to make sure the apologies are sarcastic.
Yeah.
Sorry, my tiaras are slipping.
have you changed much? Do you know? I'm going into interviewer mode now, but I'm doing one more. There you go. And I kind of know the answer to this because I spend lots of time with you outside of this as well.
Yeah.
Do you think you've changed a lot as a person since we started?
I genuinely think I have. I think I'm more empathetic.
Oh.
And I think I'm also more willing to take a different point of view and better at defending my own points of view.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you don't usually just give up immediately now.
Yeah, I for listeners who obviously haven't known me a decade, the way Francine has, I have got an overwhelming fear of conflict and will very rapidly back out of arguments. And the podcast has definitely made me a lot better at defending an idea. So yeah, I think it's genuinely made me
a very convoluted intervention.
You just we made
I mean, God knows how many hours into this, and here's the banner. Oh, I didn't make a banner.
We've done 100 episodes of a podcast just to make me apologize less and be more confrontational.
I need to work out exactly how many hours we've done. I'm going to do our own little stats thing because the Spotify Wrap's only for the year.
Oh,
I might make our own little horrible stats graphic.
I want to find it quickly now, but someone sent us, we were their top podcast in their Spotify Wrapped.
Oh yay, someone tagged us. They did, didn't they? I remember seeing it now. Yes.
Yes, and I'm trying to find
Thank you for listening to that specific request.
Yes, and this person has listened to 107 episodes for a total of 5 days, 14 hours.
Oh, someone else is that weird. I did that for No Such Thing as a Fish. It was like 5 days. I was like, oh, fuck. That's weird. But no, it's not just me. Okay, I'm not calling you weird. It's just I get very into things too.
It genuinely is so fucking delightful to know that like, I will never get over the fact that people want to listen to us and like us. Like, I'm better at taking compliments now than I was when we started, but it will never quite feel real that many people enjoy us talking about this shit.
Yeah. All right, we're getting a bit self-indulgent now. Let's move on. I know this is my fault. I kept asking you questions.
You say self-indulgent, but we're about to go into some bigger topics. But so Stephen on Twitter asked us, now you're well past halfway through, are you excited or hesitant about reaching the Shepherd's Crown and finishing the journey? And I want to address the first half of that question more than the second, because we'll go into the journey a bit more in a mo.
Yes.
So you.
Me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Thoughts?
Excited more than apprehensive, I think. Or hesitant, sorry. Yes. No, excited and apprehensive rather than hesitant. So I'm not hesitant. I don't want to draw it out. I know I make jokes about you drawing it out, but I know that's just because we want to make sure we cover everything properly and in your case within a calendar that exists mainly within your head. But occasionally with film releases. Okay, understood. But yeah, no, excited because it's like any big project. You want to finish it, but at the same time you realize afterwards you're going to be like, so yeah, both.
Yeah.
Also, it's a bit of apprehension about some of the later books are going to be harder to talk about, but
yeah, I'm similar in that mix of apprehension. Like, I feel like with the later books, without spoilers, the later books catch criticism for not being as good as the earlier books, and a lot of people are really quick to point out this is shit because he had Alzheimer's, which I fucking hate. And so be prepared to hear that rant a lot when we get to certain books.
You may have seen me calling people out for this on Facebook groups.
It's so gross, and also like a Pratchett book that's not as good as like the stage of Pratchett we're at right now. Like, it's a high bar. That's still a really good fucking book.
Exactly. Yeah, as we've said when we like with Soul Music for me, and I think with Sorcery for you particularly. Yeah, not our favorite Discworld books, but still better than most things you read. Like.
Exactly. No, I'm really excited to get to the Shepherd's Crown specifically because
it's going to be a very different type of conversation. Sorry.
It's going to be a different type of conversation. I think it's a good book. I like the story of the book without obviously spoiling anything, because we're saving any and all discussion of the final Discworld novel, The Shepherd's Crown, until we get there, so you, dear listener, can come on the journey with us.
Through rambling questions for at least 20 minutes. I know we always say we're going to be 15-20 minutes with these bonuses. What are we up to? 55 minutes.
Yeah. Well done us. We did take a break. I'm
genuinely shocked by that. I didn't have that window open. I thought we'd been going 25. Fuck. All right.
We did go for a break, so that was like 5 minutes.
Yeah, we got still.
But also one of the ideas I had when starting this podcast, so I wanted to keep it spoiler free, so people who are new to the Discworld could like maybe listen as they read the books for the first time. But the reason we kept out the spoilers for The Shepherd's Crown is I know there are a lot of people who have read every Discworld novel except The Shepherd's Crown. They can't bring themselves to read their last book. So if this podcast helps people, we joke about the journey metaphor, but if people can get across what looks like a gaping abyss and turns out to be a really easy little bridge you could handstand over to get to that last book.
Yeah, you drew a metaphor for one of the other books.
Yeah, I don't think.
Smart. I like that.
Then it'd be really cool to get there with it. I think The Shepherd's Crown for quite a few listeners will be maybe a first time read, and that'll be a new experience for listeners to be maybe doing the podcast along with the book. So just in that sense, I'm very excited to get there.
Yeah. And so the journey.
Well, to do this, I kind of want to go into our next question, which was an email from Craig. I won't read out the whole email, but Craig said, "Sir Terry's work is finite, sadly. Do you intend to do more when you've completed Discworld?" And he said, the Long Earth sequence, diaries, calendars, anthologies, another author. Craig also asked if we broadcast live. I think we've responded to that now.
Oh, do you know what? Maybe that's where that came from in my head. I read this earlier.
Do you ever think I wish we'd never started this? No, but I'm pretty sure Francine does when she's editing on a Sunday.
I say very occasionally, but I think that about literally any obligation, especially when there's tech problems. Yes.
But Craig went into a more serious note that, he's been listening to this podcast for a long time. It's been going through some tough times in recent history. We've all put a lot of hours into it, not just you and me, but the listeners. And Craig said, what will we do? What's the cold turkey plan? Craig did say we should have a wit round and buy a castle or an albatross, somewhere to go and mourn the passing of something significant.
Can we go and mourn the passing of something significant at an albatross? Because I'm very into that idea. If we know where it'll be. If it an albatross that perches somewhere for a certain time each day.
If we could get like an albatross on a castle.
Fantastic idea of an eldritch being.
Yeah, absolutely. If we could get an albatross on a castle. But yeah, finishing the journey. That's something you and I have joked about. In fact, it came up when we were on Pratchett the other day.
It did.
And I think we've kind of landed on, I don't think this podcast will end with The Shepherd's Crown.
No.
Is the short answer.
That's not the plan. No.
This
part of the podcast, this chapter of the story, this leg of the journey.
The podcast will never be the same after The Shepherd's Crown. I think we can both agree to that. Like, we won't still be doing a long-running recap of the Discworld books.
Yeah. There is not another 40 odd long series of books by our favorite author. That is just not something that exists.
No. There is other Pratchett to talk about. We both want to talk about the longer. I feel like there'll be a holiday.
Yeah, no, we'll need a time. Yeah.
But there will be other Pratchett to talk about. Like, we're not going to be able to cover everything. I don't know if we've said in the podcast before, but we're going to kind of spread things out a bit next year. Just because otherwise we'd go into the following year with like 2 books left, and I just feel like that's such a weird way to start a year. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, no.
So instead, we're only going to cover the next 6 Discworld books next year, but we'll be covering more other things.
And as we're getting closer to the end, there's a lot of the supplementary material we can do without it being spoilery.
Yeah, like we've not touched on the science of Discworld at all, and I would like to talk about those at some point. We've talked about we want to do the Long Earth series, but I feel like it would be better to do those all in one hit because it's a more continual series than the Discworld.
Yes.
And we've also talked about like other authors we'd maybe like to discuss in the future. So I think the shortest answer is obviously the podcast won't be the same after The Shepherd's Crown. The longer answer is you and I will keep podcasting about books as much as time and jobs allow us to.
Yes. Whether that is continuing under the same name but with different focus, or whether we just fuck it all off and start again, which is always fun but difficult. But
I feel like we'll probably continue under the same name.
All right, fine.
Because I really like the name. That was the first thing I came up with for the podcast. Was let's call it. I was about
to ask, do you think you came up with that name? I feel like I did.
No, because I was like, no, let's call it The Truth Shall Make You Frat because it's from the book.
I said that.
I still feel like
I've always loved that as my favourite line. Yeah, I knew you thought that, but I think that as well. That's fine.
We can
There's
share
literally no way to prove either way, but
Right, if we get the CCTV footage from that coffee shop on that day, which I'm sure they have with sound focused on our table. But I did want to say, like, I glossed over a lot of the very nice things Craig said about us, and talking about listeners sending us emails that make us cry. PD also sent us a really beautiful email that I'm not going to read out because I feel like reading out compliments is more cringe than I can do.
It is. We've already like reached our cringe quota by mentioning the fact we get them, frankly. So
yeah, like literally, like, I can't believe you like us. What the fuck? No, I'm not judging you for liking us. I really love what we've done. You really love what we've done. I never expected there to be like a community around the podcast. I didn't expect to have listeners. I know parasocial relationships exist because I'm still somewhere in the back of my brain think that Kristen and Jenny from Buffering and Sarah Marshall from You're Wrong About and Michael Hobbs from all the things he does are my best friends.
Yep.
Despite the fact they have no idea who the fuck I am. So I wasn't expecting to be like, oh, that's our listener that comments every week, or that's our listener that like will live comment their thoughts on Patreon as they're watching the episode.
Yeah.
Like, it's genuinely a delight to us, and we want to keep something going and keep this community, such a wanky word, but like this rabble together.
That's better. This ragtag band of misfits, Joanna.
Oh God, I'm sorry. Do you have anything to add other than like we like you all a lot? And yeah, I mean, if you want to have a whip round and buy us a castle, then go for it.
No, I think I said it earlier. I think with the I'm still not used to it, and it's really cool that you guys all communicate with us, and I do appreciate it very much, even if sometimes I forget to reply to things. Yeah, no, we love you all. We love that not only we have been doing this for so long, but that you've been on the journey with us. You ragtag bunch of misfits on a angry maths obsessed camel running through a desert, crashing into a turtle that's somehow going faster. Someone just made a small gods joke on the Twitter. Now I can't move the metaphor on something else. Sure, yeah. There we go. Do you have Twitter open? I mean, I have my phone next to me. I was just checking for last minute questions on Reddit and I can't see any, but I just thought it might be worth checking for very last minute ones, but I think we're good. No, we've got a couple of people who are listening to older episodes who have sort of said like, in fact, one person just tweeted, currently listening to you guys talk about moving pictures in 2020, but I'll get there eventually. Hey. So hi from the past for the listeners who are like 60 odd episodes behind and going to get to this sometime in the next 2 years. Hello, future listeners. Hello, futurelings. Do you ever think about the fact that one day somebody might listen to us when we're dead? Not me, obviously, because I'm going to live forever, but theoretically. I have never thought about that before, but now it's haunting me, so thank you. Do you ever think about the fact that we have so many hours of content of us just chatting shit? It would be quite easy to make a convincing AI of us as at the pace that technology is moving. I feel like if that AI could handle some social engagements for me, I'd be all right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I trained a neural net to respond to our emails. It doesn't. The important thing is because we've never really improved the video quality, deep fake's never going to be a thing. Deep fake these tiaras, bitch. Right, as always, we have got to the end of an episode by going completely off the rails. Oh, yeah. Much like a helicopter does not go on rails. Just so we don't have an unfinished argument, I'll concede that you came up with the title. I appreciate it, but now I feel like I need to concede that you came up with the title. No, that doesn't work because it's then still unresolved. Oh, okay. Right. Yeah, no. It's fine because I did the logo. So it doesn't matter. Oh, no, you absolutely did the logo. that would be a weird one to misremember. Yeah, I briefly got good at digital art and then decided to completely abandon it. That's something I wish I could redo, and I'm thinking about redoing because I did actually get much better at digital art since I did that. No, I love our logo. You can't change it. All right, fine. Yeah. No, I hate when podcasts change their logos. It's a very specific thing for me. All right, I might change the animation at the start of our videos then. Oh yeah, that you can do. Because that's slightly mistimed and it's bothered me for over a year and I just haven't been bothered, but we'll get there. All right. Thank you for listening to our admin, listeners.
This has been a random bonus nonsense of The Truth Shall Make You Fret. If you didn't get the vibe from the episode, but we are big fans of yours. And thank you for coming with us for 100 episodes, you ragtag bunch of misfits.
Yep, I'm tweeting as Joanna is talking as a reply to your tweet so that it's like double interaction.
Oh God, engagement. I'm not going to do a whole until next time because you can hear that on our proper episodes. I will once again say thank you for listening, and for the 100th and a bit time, don't let us detain you.
Very good, very nice.
Sorry, yeah, that did go on much longer than I thought it would.
No,
but,
you're good, you're good.
What a delight.